Good evening. Um, oh, it's a book called Communion with God, written by Neil Donald Walsh. He also did Conversations with God and Friendship with God. Several other books, actually. I highly recommend the Conversations with God series. Um, this is a slightly new project I'm working on. I'm going to skip the introduction and prelude for now. Go right to part one, The 10 Illusions of Humans. Number one, the illusion of need. The first illusion is need exists. This is not only the first illusion, but the grandest. On this illusion, all other illusions are based. Everything you currently experience in life, everything you feel moment to moment, is rooted in this idea and your thoughts about it. Need is non existent in the universe. One needs something only if one requires a particular result. The universe does not require a particular result. The universe is the result. Need is unlike non-existent. Need, is likewise non-existent in the mind of God. God would need something only if God required a particular result. God does not require any particular result. God is that which produces all results. If God needed something to produce a result, where would God get it? There is nothing that exists outside of God. God is all that is, all that was, and all that will ever be. There is nothing that is not. There is nothing that is not God. One more time. There is nothing that is not God. You may better grasp this idea if you use the word life in place of the word God. The two words are interchangeable, so you will not alter the meaning, you will merely increase your understanding. Nothing that is not life. If life needed something to produce a result, where would life get it? There is nothing that exists outside of life. Life is all that is, all that was, and all that will ever be. God needs nothing to occur except that which is occurring. Life needs nothing to occur except that which is occurring. The universe needs nothing to occur except that which is occurring. This is the nature of things. This is how it is, not the way you have imagined it. In your imagination, you have created the idea of need out of your experience that you need things in order to survive. Yet suppose that you didn't care whether you lived or died. Then what would you need? Nothing at all. And suppose that it was impossible for you not to live. Then what would you need? Nothing at all. Now here is the truth about you. It is impossible for you not to survive. You cannot fail to live. It is not a question of whether you will live, but how. That is, what form will you take? What will your experience be? I tell you this, you need nothing to survive. Your survival is guaranteed. I give you everlasting life, and I never took it away from you. Hearing this, you may say yes, but survival is one thing, and happiness is another. You may imagine that you need something in order to survive happily, that you can be happy only under certain conditions. This is not true. But you have believed it to be true, and because belief produces experience, you have experienced life in this way, and have thus imagined a God you must experience life in this way as well. Yet, this is no more true for God than it is for you. The only difference, God knows this. It's a very profound um, paragraph. It speaks about a lot of things that I've talked about many, many times, and that is the transaction or conditional nature by which we are taught life and love exist. You may imagine that you need something in order to survive happily, that you can only be happy, sorry, that you can be happy only under certain conditions. This is not true. But you have believed it to be true, and because belief produces experience, you have experienced life in this way. Very powerful. And because belief produces experience, you have experienced life in this way. And have thus imagined a God who must experience life in this way as well. Yet this is no more true for God than it is for you. The only difference is God knows this. And it speaks a lot to, I've talked about it so many times. By the way, this is the first time I've ever read this particular book. You know, they say life is 10 or 20% what happens to you, and the other 80 or 90% is how you perceive it. What you believe is the existence or experience you're going to have. You make and create your own reality. And by that, I don't necessarily mean the physical world around you. I mean the reality here. It's a great example. Um, People do this all the time. And I'm guilty of this myself. I try to be a lot more conscious of it now than I used to be. But here's a perfect example. So the other day, I come out of this gas station, and there's a young woman. She's got her child in the car. She's putting air in the tire. Now, mind you, I was probably 50 feet away from this person. And she happened to have on, which I know was a wig, but it was black and white striped. And it looked really cool. And that was my only thought. And as I walked past, literally, I'm walking away from this person. I said, by the way, I like your hair. She looked at me and gave me this mean mug look and said, yeah, okay, whatever, leave me alone. And I said, excuse me? And she literally got frightened. Now, mind you, I'm 50 feet away from this person. My back is to them. I literally turned and said, excuse me? And she's like, please get away from me. Like, she was terrified. And I was like, now, I kind of emotionally reacted. I looked at her, I said, lady, I want nothing to do with you. I was just trying to compliment your wig. Have a nice day. And I walked off, and it really kind of threw me because, one, I wasn't expecting that. But I thought about that for a little while. No, it didn't ruin my day. And it's sad. It's sad that somebody has been so traumatized that this is their reaction to somebody just saying a nice thing. It's also sad that that's the day and age we live in. That people assume nefarious motivations with everything. And I've said it before 100 times, and I'll say it again. It's a direct reflection of that person's character and not my value or worth. Her reaction had absolutely nothing to do with what my intentions or motivations were. She assumed my intentions and motivations based on her previous experience, based on the things she believed. That shaped her experience in that moment. Her experience in that moment was she was terrified of any person, specifically a male, saying anything to her. And I wasn't even approaching her. It's not like I was walking up to her. I was walking past her and away from her. But she has been hurt or scared or whatever. And that's by no means, I'm not saying that she's deserve that or anything like this. No. I feel bad that this is how she perceives the world now. That's got to be miserable, terrifying even. And this is what I mean by people live in a constant state of fear and reaction. So, like it said in that book, in our society and the way we're raised to believe that happiness comes under certain conditions. Happiness isn't here and here. You create happiness wherever you go, regardless of the circumstances. You know, I've been homeless several times in my life. I literally lived under a bridge at one point. No bullshit. I've straight up been in bum fights over territory on corners and shit. Like, some funny stories. You know, am I proud of that? No, but I'm not embarrassed by it either. I overcame that. I survived. Trust me when I tell you, there are a lot of people out there who wouldn't have lasted a day in my shoes. You know, I took a very long, hard road, as I like to call the path of suffrage, to obtain some of the insight and whatnot that I have learned. The multiple ego deaths. Point being is, was that hard? Was it difficult? Yeah, sure. But for just as many hard, difficult days as I had just as many happy, joyful days. Why? Because I created my happiness. I was grateful for what I had in the moment. Very humbling experience, by the way. Being homeless and panhandling. Extremely humbling. And this is why I talk about like materialistic things. You know, people always seem to think, oh, I'll be happy when I get a house. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when that happens. No. If you don't create the happiness before you obtain those things, you're not going to be happy after you get them. You will dull yourself into a false sense of security and illusion, but you will never be truly joyful. Now, if you're a somewhat happy person and joyful before you obtain those things, and those things bring you more joy because it's a goal you accomplish, then yes, of course, obviously. And I'm not saying those things are evil or bad, or anything like that. It's necessary. Trust me, I live in a camper van in my car, both. Um, and while I'm grateful and happy with that, satisfied, and even joyful because it gives me a sense of freedom. I will admit it's a little cramped. I wish I had a little more space, but okay. It just means I have to pare down and move apart. Nothing I can't. I come from a long line of gypsies. I'm used to it. Built in my DNA. So, yeah. I'm hopefully going to be doing a series where I read this book and give my thoughts and opinions on it, insights. I'm waiting to, I actually have to, I need to get permission from the author, copyright issues. For now, there'll be little excerpts here and there. But just remember that one. What you believe is what you experience.